Oh, hey, I'm Lucas Cuadros, and this is the Unblended Show.
World don't move to the beat of just one drum. What might be right for you may not be right for some.
Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of the Coffee Beer Show, and today we'll be covering another highly intellectual topic, which is how to mix coffee with beer. But today we won't be actually mixing coffee and beer like we did last time. Today we'll be providing a tutorial to help you choose the right beer and the right coffee for your experiments at home. And for that we'll talk to Steve. Steve's a brewer from Pangea that made a beer with our coffee a couple of months ago, and he'll be walking us through that process and why he chose that beer and that coffee. But we also will be talking to Felipe, the coffee grower who grew the coffee that Steve used in his beer. And he'll be explaining why that coffee was so special and how did he make it. So, tag along.
Lucas, thank you for inviting me to your show. According to your presentation, we designed the coffee that we just sent it to you for the beer purposes by anaerobic fermentation. We made a coffee like this, a natural coffee, but with different process. Anaerobic fermentation by 72 hours. And then we extended in beds like this. And our main purpose is to have a really fruity coffee with wine accent and alcoholic as well. Hi, Lucas. Thank you for inviting me to your show.
Hey guys, it's me again. Now in that last video, we learned how Felipe used anaerobic fermentation, which is a fermentation without oxygen, to produce a coffee that had berry notes. It was very fruit forward, had some wine finish to it and some alcoholic notes, which is a coffee perfect to be used in a beer. Now up next, we're gonna learn how Steve and the thought process he had in choosing that specific coffee and selecting a beer type that would combine them both very well. Now you guys are not gonna produce beer at home in the way that he does, but it might help you choose a type of coffee and a type of beer that go well together. So now tag along and learn how Steve used a natural processed coffee with a white Belgium ale.
Thanks for that intro, Lucas. Today I wanted to talk to you all about our brewer's perspective on coffee beers. Flavor and compatibility is probably the most important part of this whole beer making process, so I wanted to walk you through kind of my thoughts and an experiment that I did with some of the coffee beer flavors. The first most important part is the coffee. This natural coffee is very different from normal roasted coffee in the sense where the notes come up very strongly, as in berry, chocolate, caramel, and some vanilla. Once we kind of figured that out, we wanted to pair that with a beer style that would work very well. You could go through and use the hops, the grains, the malt, the yeast, and try to compare everything together. So for this first experiment, I decided to really focus on the fermentation process and the yeast itself. For this, I decided to use a strong Belgian wit recipe that I've used before and kind of cater it towards the coffee flavors overall. The Belgian yeast really gives off strong phenolic flavors, which are very herbal and floral in the sense. So it'll work very well with that berry flavor and that vanilla flavor in there. So for the actual brew itself, I went through and brewed the Belgian wit the normal way I would. I then proceeded to let it ferment through primary fermentation. Once it got to that point, I took the coffee, I ground it out pretty coarsely, and then I added it to the solution for an additional 3 days to sit there and let the flavors mesh together. Once that was finished and I tasted it and it was really bringing out the coffee flavors, I decided to drop the coffee and the yeast out of solution and then add a little more vanilla to taste at the end. The resulting beer was very, very interesting. The coffee flavors came out very, very strongly, but it wasn't heavy like many other coffee beers that you've had before. It was very light and very drinkable, very nice for summertime in general.